All right, we'll start on time. Thanks a lot for joining me over here. So my name is Biren Gandhi. I'm part of Cisco's Strategic Innovation Group and had a couple of sessions yesterday. So some of you might have been in those sessions, but whoever was not there in those sessions, just a brief overview of what we try to do. So Strategic Innovation Group focuses on two kinds of activities. One is mergers, acquisitions, scouting for startups, making investments into accelerator, incubator programs, and the whole corp dev BD activity on one side. On second side, we try to investigate and incubate disruptive technologies, especially businesses around disruptive technologies. Technology could be cool, but we don't want it to limit as a science experiment only. There has to be a sustainable business. So as part of that charter, we are looking at many different technologies. Drones is one of them. We are also looking at blockchain, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning, robotics, and many other things, all buzzwords essentially. But few qualify for sustainable businesses, especially in the commercial ecosystem that Cisco is willing to play. So that's our charter, and as part of that charter, we have tried to do many different things. So Cisco has these 5 pillars of innovation: building homegrown technologies internally in-house, creating new IP, that's one part. Buying or acquiring from outside. So as you know, Cisco has been very successful with that strategy as well, with acquisitions and all. Partnering, so we have announced some key strategic partnerships with Apple, with Ericsson, with Docker. So those are like high-level B2B strategic partnerships to advance and further the mission mutually of different companies. Invest is another big strategy. So Cisco has $2 billion of investment portfolio from in 150 different entities across the world. Direct investments into startups or accelerator incubator programs in various parts of the world, or even venture positions and venture funds as well. So, and lastly, we are also working on co-innovation, co-development model with our customers, and drones fall in that category, where we are not claiming that we know everything, we figured out the ecosystem. There is a lot to be learned for everybody. The ecosystem is in a very nascent stage right now. It's still evolving. So everybody is trying to learn. So we work jointly with our customers and try to figure out what exactly is the interesting solutions they would like to see and they would be willing to pay for in the future, and then build those solutions instead of creating something from the ether and then trying to sell it across the world. So that's our approach. So let's start off with a quick video outlining our approach. It's just
For centuries, mankind has used technology to not only improve the quality of day-to-day life, but to conquer new heights along the intellectual frontiers. High-bandwidth network connectivity across devices, things, and people has been instrumental in promoting exponential growth of hyper-connected services around us. As we embark upon the era of IoT and digital transformation, a new face of technology innovation is emerging: drones. Commercial applications of drones are becoming increasingly relevant in the domains of oil, gas, and mining, power plants and energy inspections, precision agriculture, public safety, live events, and many more.
Most of the commercial drones and their applications today are purpose-built for specific needs. Cisco's Autonomous Systems Application Platform, or ASAP, is a true drone-agnostic, payload-agnostic, application-enabled, horizontal, secure platform leveraging the architectural paradigms of edge and fog computing in addition to cloud computing.
Here's a quick example of what Cisco's drone platform can achieve using off-the-shelf drone. We're able to capture data from 8 to 10 different sensors, from gas to UV light, and securely transmit them with LoRa, long-range telemetry, to the ground station. The ground station can then seamlessly overlay that data onto the video streams captured from the drone's onboard cameras. And behold, you have complete situational awareness.
The most important part of Cisco's drone platform is that it is seamlessly transferable and adaptable to other IoT verticals. It integrates with Cisco WebEx, Spark, telepresence, security, and most other portfolio solutions. And lastly, we believe in democratized innovation through co-creation engagements with partners.
Cisco's Autonomous Systems Application Platform. There's never been a better time to create the future.
sure this video threw a lot of buzzwords in mind, so we'll try to capture and go over some of them, try to go into the details of some of them as part of this session. As you can imagine, and as you have seen here throughout the shop floor, throughout various sessions and all that, and many discussions and media outlets, drones cater to a number of vertical commercial applications, starting from like various ranges, and these are just like handful of them. You can multiply them like 10, 100 fold, and there would be each different application. So it's a proliferation of so many verticalized applications in the drone ecosystem. But how do you take care of all of them in one go? And that's our effort with this ASAP platform, is like how can you make sure there are some concrete and common abstractions out there which you can take care irrespective of the vertical you want to play in. And that's exactly what the phenomenon, the spirit behind that. And we see this is like one of the original drawings. That's by my son. Today is his birthday, by the way. He's 8-year-old today. But he captured it pretty well. Very early stage graphic of like what this ASAP platform means based on one of my earlier talks. But in a more boring way, these are like 8 elements we try to capture and address as part of this ASAP platform. So obviously it has to be a horizontal platform, as I was saying earlier. Any verticalized, we enable, Cisco is in the business of infrastructure, providing and enabling other customers, vendors, partners to do a lot of great things. So we are in the infrastructure business, especially on the B2B side, not on the B2C side as much. So we would like to be that way, and we will continue to play to our strengths in those domains. So providing a horizontal platform is the key to success in that scenario. Second one is it's a drone neutral platform. I mean, even though today a particular brand's drones are more popular and very obvious, like in the consumer domains, many of the commercial applications either go on the high-end side or they build their own drones, construct their own from scratch, DIY drones. So our platform needs to be capable of tackling and working with different kinds of drone platforms. It should be drone neutral in that sense. It has to be payload neutral as well. So even the camera, optical camera, regular one, it's most popular in the consumer domain. It doesn't have to limit to that. So as one of my colleagues was articulating in the video, we have done some proof of concept by equipping temperature sensors, gas sensors, thermal sensors, and a bunch of other sensors, and get an integrated feed of those sensors on the drone itself while it's flying, and make decisions based on multi-sensory inputs and their levels. So these level of flexibility requires that we integrate with different kinds of sensors irrespective of the payload type. So that's another key element. It has to be application enabled. So we should be able to basically leverage the third-party app developer ecosystem, just like it has happened in the Apple iPhone ecosystem or Android, Google ecosystem. There are so many smart brains throughout the world, and we need to capture the expertise of every single one of them. But unless you provide them a flexible platform with clear revenue monetization models and how the money flows, how the compatibility flows, how the portability flows, it's very difficult to achieve that end goal. So we are striving for providing that application enablement as well as part of this powerful platform. FAA compliant, I mean, that's a no-brainer. It has to be there in any geography, or FAA or equivalent in various parts of the world. Wherever you are operating, you need to comply to the local airspace regulations. Edge fog architecture is another thing. Most people today, they advertise either like on the edge compute or all the way in the cloud compute. But our thought process is we should not limit ourselves to those endpoints. Whenever you are going from a cell phone, smartphone, all the way to the cloud and coming back on the round trip, your traffic actually passes through a bunch of network hops. Those are intermittent links. And technically, theoretically speaking, you should be allowed to do computation on any of those intermittent boxes. You should not be limited by those. So in some cases you have latency limitations, some cases you have bandwidth limitations, but fog computing is an interesting paradigm which allows the flexibility of cloud, but you can run your compute at any point, any intermittent point in the network hop to the cloud and back. So, and there is a consortium around that effort as well. It completed 2 years recently called Open Fog Consortium. And there is it's called first meetup. It's not meetup, it's a conference, the Fog World Congress, happening at the end of this month in Santa Clara. So whoever is local and interested definitely should check that out. Secure digital connectivity, that's another big piece. I mean, Cisco being part of the network provider as a more of a watching a lot of traffic moving across, and in the recent times of various cyber hacks and other things, like we are seeing a lot more focus on cyber security. So having, even in the drone world, even though there is no active lookup in the military side, obviously it has been paid attention to from day one. It has to be there. In the commercial side, unfortunately, a lot of people are taking it very lightly. So the traffic has to be encrypted, not just between like a cloud and the ground station, but between drone to the ground station. And if you have drone to drone communication, that traffic also needs to be encrypted and digitally secure in terms of communication. And data management is another no-brainer. A lot of times we are getting the terms as like, oh, data is the new oil. So how can you provide this end-to-end data flexibility with the chain of custody, with proper attribution, respecting people's privacy rights as well in the process? So who is going to be able to audit and regulate all that flow? Maybe in an anonymized manner. People, I mean, whoever is capturing the data is also want to respect his or her own privacy. So how do you make this happen in a balanced way? So this is a long shot, but eventually we would like to go there for the benefit of the greater good and the ecosystem as a whole. But the interesting part of the interesting part is like we are not limiting ourselves to only the aerial drones. So the system we are putting in place is equally applicable to the ground-based robots as well. There's no reason, I mean, ground-based robots, once you provide something with the aerial robots, there are a lot more constraints on the ground-based system that's moving in the two dimensionals primarily. So it should be easier. So we are building a system which is generic. So it's equally applicable to drones as well as ground-based robots, and we'll see a quick video on like how we are putting together. I mean, this is a long shot, it's a NASA shot, but we are putting homegrown ground-based robots and deploying the ASAP platform on them to achieve some meaningful results. So let's have a look at that. So this is our lab-built robot. We call it Nomad. It doesn't have a home yet, so just keeps on roaming around. And you can enable actually multiple modes of that robot. Right now it's in the line following mode. It can follow any colored line. I mean, that's a simple thing. It's a high school project. But being able to do it remotely, being able to do it over the internet in a secure fashion, being able to capture the data points along the way, that's something different, and it's commercially viable. Same way, this is another example. Typically the navigation is a challenge, especially the indoor environments. GPS doesn't work, or doesn't work as reliably. So we are experimenting with different technologies on ultra-wideband navigation for indoor. So right now in this mode, the robot is following this ultra-wideband tags on the wall and doing the inspection in one of our labs, Cisco labs, measuring the Wi-Fi performance. So if you see, there is a scaffolding on top of that Nomad bot. So the way we use it is we put like a lot of devices, actual cell phone devices, any other Android, iPhone, tablets, phones, whatever devices you want to put in, you can insert those. About like 50 to 80 devices you can actually, this guy can carry. It has a good enough payload capacity. It can lift up to 200 to 250 pounds of weight. So it's a sturdy one. And if you notice the wheels, it can move actually sideways as well, smoothly. I posted some videos on Twitter for that. So check those out. That's a pretty cool design. But what we try to do is you can instruct the robot either to follow a colored line or execute a mission and say, hey, measure the performance in that section of my enterprise, that section of my building. So when nobody's around at night, it can go around. Or you want to measure it during the full daylight when people are around. People are seeing like all the dropped connections and Wi-Fi, especially a lot of voice traffic is traveling over Wi-Fi. Stability of the Wi-Fi connections is also very crucial. I mean, Wi-Fi is the new oil for individuals, right? Whoever has teenagers in the household would recognize that it's like the Wi-Fi is off, then like everything goes crazy and hunky-dory, right? So it's a new oil. So how can you measure performance? But the best part is like you can utilize this ASAP platform to flexibly command the robot to do different kinds of tasks in a different manner. What do I mean by that? So in the center you see Cisco's Spark platform. It's a collaboration platform. Many of you have experience with Slack and similar other platforms. It's an enterprise collaboration platform. So you can basically send input commands by a variety of means. So Spark has a messaging platform, so you can type in the message that, hey, drone Nomad 1, do this job, Nomad 2, do that job, those sort of things. Or you can actually speak into your Google Assistant, Amazon Alexa, or similar platforms, with the voice integration, you can send a text message also to trigger a particular mission or a workflow. And in the future, obviously, gesture controlled and the brain cap based interfaces. But what happens here is all of those input channels converge on the backend side using Cisco Spark platform, and on the outbound side, they result into various commands or trigger actions. And actions don't have to be limited to only the back office IT based technologies. They could span the on the drone sensors, actuators. So for example, in the earliest example I gave, you can measure the temperature sensor data on the drone, you can measure the smoke detector data on the drone, and you can combine and say, hey, if the results increase beyond certain threshold for each of them, then looks like there is a fire. So you need to enable a siren, which is again equipped on the drone or the robot, and a big flashing red light, trigger those red lights on. So those are not sensor but actuator functionalities, allowing for safe evacuation and safekeeping of people, right? So you can enable a variety of different things using sensors, actuators. In the Nomad drone case, where we are measuring and using it for Wi-Fi performance, you can actually trigger the Wi-Fi parameters on your access points based on the findings on the drone as it's traveling, or the robot as it's traveling. So you can fine-tune network parameters or various entities based on the actions received from various channels of input. And this is more of a starting point, but in the future, as part of our ASAP platform big picture vision, we want this Spark-like functionality to be delegated and distributed in that fog computing to all those endpoints. So each drone could act as a small fog node. Each robot could act as a small fog computing node. Each sensor, if it's a smart sensor, has some compute power. It should be able to act and make decisions. And even beyond, with all this AI and deep learning systems, we can integrate a lot of deep learning and artificial intelligence into those systems as well. So you do facial recognition automatically instead of badge scanning. You do a lot of other things. So sky is the limit, literally, for integrating and building on those platforms. And here's a quick example on what we did with the speech inputs as well. So it's a small Cisco drones.
All right, here's the test version of Cisco drones.
Performance.
Please select your robot to execute. Executing performance on Nomad 2. Result will be posted in a Spark.
Speed test.
Please select your robot to execute speed. Executing speed test on Nomad 3. Result will be posted in a Spark. Later, alligator.
So some of those things, like, I mean, they are available on, it's live actually. We can try it out on our cell phones as well after the session. So it's just the beginning. It's more of a sample of what you can achieve. So you can define your custom actions and you can trigger those custom actions on a variety of robots in a variety of ways. And some of the actions, I mean, we have disabled that piece of code right now, but you can have two-factor authentication. So whenever you have a sensitive action you're triggering, it can ask for additional level of detail, password, or some other secret, and then only it will let you forward. So those baseline capabilities are integrated, and this is another example of Cisco Spark. As I was saying earlier, it's a powerful messaging platform, very similar. And we had done a prototype on controlling the drones using the Spark textual interfaces, and that demo is running in Cisco booth. There's a video, but this is what it looked like. I mean, if you see, it's just you can type the commands like drone takeoff, and you can configure like what height it should go and what it should do, and the backend bot will carry out those actions in a secure fashion for you. So literally, I mean, we are trying to take care of all the like baseline components you have to worry about, like in terms of security, in terms of authority, in terms of who is the right person to take action on behalf of somebody else, whether you are respecting any local laws or violating local laws in terms of privacy, you are following the FAA, UTM, all sort of guidelines or not, whether the insurance, liability, everything is covered or not for particular operations. All those baseline check marks that one has to worry about in general, we expect more than 90% of those check mark items to be taken care of by this ASAP platform, so that the customers can focus on purely the vertical parts of their applications. and focus on the business impact and business results, not on those nitty-gritty details every single time, because that's where most of the time is vested. But platforms have their limitations and challenges as well, as we all know. But this is a great book on the platform approach and platform revolution. So what it mentions is they leverage this network effect. So even though this verticalized use case driven drone operations, they provide like easy money or quick money, not so easy, but quick money and quick gains. For long-term sustainability in any domain, if you want to create like really big impact and the holistic ecosystem growth collectively, you have to find out some sort of platform approach, because that's where the network effects get multiplied. And I realized that very well from my last 10 years experience at Facebook, Zynga, and my own startup. Like social networking is really a powerful paradigm, or in general the networking is a very powerful paradigm if you can leverage, if you can codify, if you can provide revenue opportunities, monetization opportunities, and developer friendliness on top of that. It's a catch-22 scenario, because network effects don't get realized until there are networks, until there are lots of people. And people don't come on those platforms unless there are network effects, unless there is some incentive to go onto those networks. So it's inherently very challenging, but with careful thought process, we believe that at least we are in a better position to take care of the drone platform by means of this ASAP platform. Not just drone. When I say drone, I always have the back of the mind is this ground-based robots as well, and in the future, the submarine and aquatic robots as well. So sky is literally the limit for all of us to make a difference. I mean, we have just started on this platform journey. It's not easy. So I think the question here should be like, are we really ready to be part of this platform journey? Because eventually the whole ecosystem is going to converge and merge together. We are seeing some slowdown in the short term, because this is the convergence phase in the commercial drone ecosystem. Lots of like one-trick pony companies, they are kind of going out of business, and that's a national selection order. If you want to play for the longer term, we need to have the right monetization model, right business structures in place, and right technical architectures also in place to be able to cater to a multitude of verticals. And do not lock down into just one specific segment, because that's when you are getting a smaller and smaller pie of the whole piece. So that's where my humble appeal to everyone here is like, let's join this journey together. Let's work together globally. I mean, beyond these barriers and boundaries of countries, geographies, and whatnot. But at least let's make this commercial drone ecosystem work and thrive and make it a success for all of us. Only then we'll see the real results and real peace of mind while using the drones, along with safety, security, privacy, and obeying local laws, and all the good things we hope for. Those great things can be achieved only if we work together. So thanks a lot, and we have at least 5-6 minutes for any questions you might have. Thank you.
In your development, how far have you got?
Sure. Sorry, if you don't mind.
In your development, how far have you developed? How far have you gone?
So the question is, in the development, how far have you gone? So we have done a bunch of proof of concepts with our customers. Last year we had a prototype experiment in Dubai for monitoring the air traffic using drones. Then we had a prototype experiment with Italian authorities as well, working with a manufacturer. So the approach we are taking with this incubation project, it's a nascent space. So by putting like a lot of money into creating something and then trying to sell it out that, hey, you want to buy this, it's like we don't claim to be experts in this space. I mean, there's a lot to learn for us as well. So we rely on the customers and go into the joint development cycles. So that's the approach we are taking. It's like, if you want to purchase something today, it's not there. Right? That's the quick answer. But we try to leverage Cisco as this 9 global innovation centers all outside of US, including Australia, Japan, South Korea, multiple ones in Europe, Canada, South America, and all. So we try to tap into those local ecosystems, work with customer-specific requirements, work with academia, startups, like-minded big companies as well, create solutions which our customers want in reality and they are willing to pay for it. And then scale out those solutions globally and derive the platform level abstraction components from that learning. So that's the approach we are taking, more iterative, more of a baby step approach instead of just going gung-ho and putting everything together. Anyone else? Yeah.
Thank you. So the question I have is,
I have to hold really close, actually.
is that better now?
Yeah.
Okay, let me speak without. Where does Cisco see itself? Because one thing to say you want to develop a platform, another thing to say you want to also develop software. So the two different things, because we look at platform and making it available to the ecosystem, that's one thing. If you start getting into software and trying to take care of customers' needs and requirements, then you're going to be competing with a lot of other entities. So how do you see yourself in the platform business, and how is it going to get monetized?
Sure. So let me repeat the question just in case. So how does Cisco see itself on platform and software, and how do you see it get productized, right? So I think I'm not sure whether I missed the topic, but what we are talking about is a pure software platform. And we are not talking about, even though we are using it like various hardware, we are building like robots and all, the platform, the ASAP platform that I mentioned, it's pure software. It could work on any hardware. I mean, just those 8 steps things I was mentioning, it's like it's a drone neutral, payload neutral. So it doesn't really matter which hardware you're running that platform on, but it enables the capability. So platform ecosystem is hard to monetize because customers typically want to see end-to-end solutions and get their business problem solved. I mean, they don't care about what platforms you are using underneath, or even whether you are using drones or robots or any piece of software. It doesn't really matter. So we are going with that mindset. We are working with like-minded partners. So for drones, we are partnering with hardware companies who have flexible drones. For some other software like flight control system components, we are partnering with other companies. Some components we are building ourselves. So that's why when I mentioned earlier, it's like build, buy, partner, invest, and co-develop. Those are like 5 pillars of Cisco's innovation strategy. We leverage the right tool at the right time to achieve the desired results. It's just like all the tools in our toolbox. We don't have to build everything homegrown. No, that's not the right approach. We don't reinvent the wheel. If somebody has a better proven technology, we'll use that and partner with them. It's nothing wrong about that. So that's the approach we are trying to take here. It's more of a, and that's why I like so much focus on ecosystem and jointly working together, because nobody has like the full utopian solutions in this space. So I mean, we would be fooling ourselves if we think that, hey, we have the best solution in the industry. No, nobody has that. We have to be able to leverage and cross leverage and use other people's systems and subsystems to make a difference.
Well, once you have the platform, it can also be the backbone of a systems integration model.
Exactly. Yes, platform is, we are seeing it as a backbone for system integrators model. And when I mentioned about the app developer ecosystem, that's where it referred to. I mean, not just the individual applications. I mean, you can have algorithms, drag and drop, and custom applications. Like somebody has a great algorithm for asset inspection, windmill inspection, power line inspection. Yes, you should use that. But in general, for large customers, you need system integrators type of role as well. Yes, sir. I'll repeat the question. It's okay.
Right. Right.
Hold really close.
Yeah, that's right. Hi, I'm Michael Curry. I have a drone delivery startup in Southeast Asia, and I listened to your talk about platforms and how important it is to work together, and I agree with your, I apologize if I missed the beginning of your talk, but you're talking about an application platform, and I've heard a lot of other talks talking about the lack of integration in the airspace. And I'm wondering if you're aware of efforts in that area, or if this platform connects with that problem, getting drones to operate in airspace with piloted planes and just with each other.
Yes, no, that's a great point. So I think the name is an experimental name right now, even though it says application platform. As I was saying earlier, like we hope to take care of like 90% of the baseline items whenever you need to fly any mission with drones, and that includes airspace integration as well. Not just airspace, even like working with insurance agencies, working with the local government authorities as well, and sometimes even passing the anonymized data feed also for there. Like sometimes it's like European regulations, for example, they are much more stringent with respect to privacy than any other country in the world. So how do you respect all those things? So when we say platform, platform is able to take care of most of those requirements, including the airspace deconfliction and all that, while working with other agencies and entities. Cool. So looks like we are end of our time, but I would be available here. So if you have any questions or want to share your thoughts, feel free to do so. And thanks a lot for sticking around. Thank you.